You know, I try to approach these subjects very seriously and take my job up here for what it is. And I think Danny came up and said, as a representative from the CSEA, he represents his people and not necessarily his opinion. And I really try to take that outlook on things, being here as an elected official, to take that same stance. One of the things on policy is you can't really articulate everything in a policy. Policy stands as a guideline, and you often see an area where there's some vagueness as to how it can be interpreted. And if I'm looking at this policy a little bit, and Dr. Enfield, if you can maybe comment on it real quick, there is a portion in there where you can get permission to fly certain flags at certain times. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Because one of the things that I see is, you know, Mr. Bridge makes a good point, and really this is kind of where the dilemma lies, is when it comes into flags, we really start getting into who can fly what flag. And if this person complains on this flag, I'm going to complain on this flag, and I'm going to complain on this flag until nobody can fly a flag. And at the core of what we're here for is for education. One of the places that I see a very valuable place for every flag is in a history or government class. And I don't agree with a lot of things throughout history, but if we can't have memorabilia and things to talk about in history, we're really into, and I heard a little bit about learning from history, we as a people are into lessons recorded and not lessons learned. And what better place than in a government class and history class to talk about the history of our country, and that includes all of us. So, you know, I do want to make sure that if I'm a history teacher, a government teacher with a related subject, I'd like to see all kinds of memorabilia and flags in that classroom where the students can actually educate and discuss different viewpoints throughout the history of not only our country but the world. And I think that stands to a valuable education. And with this policy, that is allowable. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. In this policy, it allows for that those symbols to be used during the class.
Okay. And if we're having Black History Month and Women's Month, are we able to have a Pride celebration as well with that policy?
That would be up to the principal and how it would relate to the instructions, and that's the guidelines that we have to provide to our administration if this policy is approved.
Okay. And we're further working things out with the union on this as well. Is that correct?
Well, we've given them some dates to meet and confer. I have not heard back, but I know we'll hear from them, I'm assuming.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my concern. And one of the things I do want to add is we hear a lot about safe spaces. You know, teachers, you make the spaces what they are. It's really how you welcome your students into your classroom that makes the difference. And honestly, I like celebrating with my flags and emblems. I talked to a couple of you. The only thing I can relate it with is, you know, LAPD did away with the thin blue line flag. And as an officer, I was kind of like, are you kidding me? This is what you do. But at the end of the day, when I kind of search myself, I'm like, you know, that flag, it's nice, but I have to see the other side of things as well. And like I said, when we get down to a tit for tat, if I can't have this, you can't have that, it really gets petty. And at the end of the day, we're here to educate our kids, and we're here to remove those distractions. I think all of these things serve valuable lessons in subject matter, and our kids have to be able to discuss these things. I want to make sure we can do that going forward. And that's all that I've got on that.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe.